Hi, this is Vaibhav, your EJ, that is your edu jockey. The purpose of this video is to work out your brain cells. So in this video we'll be discussing a brain teaser. This brain teaser is in the form of a story. So let's begin with the story. There was a French king who was very fond of wine. He had 1,000 exclusive wine bottles of various types. As usual, he also had many enemy kings. One day, one of his enemies deployed a spy to add poison to his wine bottles. The spy managed to get to his wine bottles, and as soon as he added poison to one of them, King's soldier came and immediately killed him. Now the problem begins, that to which bottle poison was added. King calls his most intelligent minister, someone like Birbal, to solve the problem. He provides the minister with his prisoners and 1 month's time. It is known from the poison bottle obtained from the dead spy that it was poison eggs, which kills the person in exactly 1 month. And before that, not even symptoms appear. King loved all his wine bottles and was not ready to do away with them. So my question is, what is the minimum number of prisoners required to find the poisoned bottle? So with this I summarize the question. And one thing that you should notice, apply only maths. Do not use any XYZ logics. Now those of you who want to try the question of your own, pause the video, think as long as you want, a day, 2 days or a week, and those of you who want the hint, continue playing the video. So here we go with our first hint. Now suppose you take 1,000 prisoners and give a sip of the wine from each bottle to the respective prisoner. Say suppose this prisoner 1, prisoner 2, prisoner 3, and there is wine bottle 1, wine bottle 2, wine bottle 3. You give wine bottle 1 to prisoner 1, wine bottle 2 to prisoner 2, and wine bottle 3 to prisoner 3, and so on. So you'll be needing 1,000 prisoners like this. And now we apply a little more brain. We don't give the 1,000 bottle to anybody. This means that if prisoner 1 dies, then wine bottle 1 has the poison. If prisoner 2 dies, then bottle 2 has the poison, and so on. But in this case, if nobody dies, this means that 1,000 bottles will have the poison. The other hint that I would like to give you is applying PNC, that is permutation and combination. And the next hint that I would like to give you is that the answer that is gonna come will be very small than your expectation. Now when you have seen the hints, try doing this question of your own, and if you have tried, then look for the solution. Here we go for the solution. The solution goes like this. Say suppose you have some wine bottles, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on, and you have some prisoners, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. You give a sip of this to this and don't give it to rest of them. Then you give a sip of this to maybe 1 and 2 and to 5 also, and don't give it to 3 and 4. And then you give a sip of 3 to maybe just 2, and then you give a sip of 4 to maybe some 100th or 1,000 prisoner, whatever, and so on. You do for 4 and 5. But if you want to get a little organized, then you should be going this way. Say suppose you have prisoner P1 and few bottles. You have prisoner P1 and few bottles out here, which are represented with the help of circle. And now you can give a sip of this to P1 and not give sip of this. Let's forget about rest of them. If you had just 2 bottles, one prisoner will be enough to determine the one that has the poison. And say suppose I give you a one more prisoner, P2. Okay, so you give a sip of this to P1 and not give it to P2. And again, you have not given a sip of this one to P1. So let's give a sip of this to P2. Now let's talking about this one. Let's give a sip of it to both of them, to P1 as well as to P2, and not give a sip of this to anybody. Again, forgetting about the rest of the bottles that are there. So there are no more combinations possible for P1 and P2. So with the help of 2 prisoners, you're able to test 4 bottles. Hence, if you had just 4 bottles, then 2 prisoners would be enough for you. And say suppose there are few more bottles, and this time I'm giving you 3 prisoners, P1, P2 and P3. So let's see how many bottles can you test with the help of them. Of the first bottle, I give a sip to P1 and not to the rest of them. Of second, I give to P2 and not to P1 and P3. Of third, I give to P3 only. Of the fourth one, I am giving to P1 and P2. Of the fifth one, I am giving to P2 and P3 only. Of sixth one, I give to P1 and P3. Of seventh, I can give to all of them. And for eighth, I give it to none of them. Now we can see that there are no more combinations possible. Are there? Just think about. There are no more combinations possible for these crosses and tick marks. So here we see that with the help of three prisoners, we are able to detect 8 wine bottles. With the help of 2 prisoners, we were able to detect 4 wine bottles. And with just 1 prisoner, we were able to detect 2. So do you see some relationship between them? Okay, that's a little tough to think, but if you have a little experience in solving brain teasers, then you will see that 2 to the power 3 gives us 8, 2 to the power 2 gives us 4, and 2 to the power 1 gives us 2. So here are 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, giving us 8, 4 and 2. Same out here. So let me just stop out here. You calculate the answer, and if you want to see the answer, then continue seeing the video. So let me tell you that answer is 10. The answer is 10. If you have found the correct answer, then continue seeing the solution, and if you haven't, then please try again, because I've almost solved the question, and what I'm gonna do is just the calculation part now. Now here we see that we were able to detect up to 8 bottles, that is 2 to the power 3 bottles, with the help of 3 prisoners. Now let's see what we can do with the 4 prisoners. With 4 prisoners we're gonna get 2 to the power 4, which is 16. But what we want is 1000. Now let's wonder, 2 to the power something giving us 1000. Now this something is definitely not integer. So let's think a little more. With 2 to the power something, we should be able to detect 1000 bottles. But if we speak it this way, that with 2 to the power something, we should be able to detect at least 1000 bottles, and it makes a way easier. So if we look at 2 to the power 10, it is 1024. So even if we had 1024 bottles, then we would have been able to detect them with the help of 10 prisoners only. So as I said earlier, the answer, that is 10, is much smaller than you can expect.